in terms of if you want to generate leads, that's somewhat a different strategy, but...
What's the advice your clients are getting in terms of using AI for not just marketing and branding, but for daily productivity activities? How effectively they're using it?
Yeah, so of course we always advise that it's a tool. If you are going to use it to, I guess, generate your own content in any way, shape or form, have a strong brand messaging toolkit that's going to help, we call it chatty, generate content that's aligned with your brand. So if we break it down just to the very simplest forms, your words and your visuals, I think in terms of design, it's still quite basic, but in terms of your messaging, like if you've got your core components of your messaging strategy, plug that in. And at least when you say, write a short punchy post, for whatever it is, it's going to pull from that framework. So I think with the paid version or pro, you can actually set your, we call it brand compass. You can set it in there, but then it'll write the content for you. But again, what we've noticed is that it will sometimes just regurgitate the same stuff. So just be mindful that when you are using it, and it loves dashes, as we all know, it does kind of generate the same thing. So always just be mindful, read it, have a look. Does this say, back to intention, does it say what I want it to say?
In terms of, do you think there's a use case of having a localized language model for your business, and that language model being trained on the way your business thinks or your organization thinks and plays with?
For my business in particular? Yeah, for any business owner?
Any business. For example, somebody wants to have, want to create a language model which is in-house, which is not on the cloud.
Yeah.
And train the language model on your policies, procedures, the way you respond to queries, the way you draft proposals, the way the whole life cycle of sales or any process, and train the model, and then that can be used with the larger employees.
Yeah, so of course there's merit in that. It will save a lot of time. Again, you have to input the right info. You have to train it in order to get the best output. It's a productivity tool. It saves a lot of time. Instead of Jane from accounts, whatever, trying to sit there, write an email that takes 3 hours, you can, if it's got
Jane Austen from accounts.
Yeah, Jane Austen. Yeah, definitely. So I'm generalizing. If it's got that, if the input's great, you're going to get great output. So yeah, definitely it's beneficial.
On personal branding, how much content is too much content and how much content is enough content to be published?
Right.
Personal professional branding, which is, on LinkedIn. So how do you see that?
Sure.
And if the intention is to be seen as a subject matter expert in specific category or line of work, so how do you define content creation and publishing, and then and the style of content?
Sure. So in terms of your online presence, again, it goes back to intention. So online presence helps you build profile, that credibility. In terms of if you want to generate leads, that's somewhat a different strategy. But if you do want to be seen as a thought leader, you want to lead the way, you just want to be the Bunnings or whatever space it is that you sit in, you do have to show up on a regular basis. So again, going back to intention, having a plan, strategy. I know that word gets overused so many times, but taking we would call a brand compass for personal brand business, and then sitting down and saying, right, these are my content pillars, whatever it is that you want to call them. These are the things I want to be known for. So branding, I'm just going to use myself as an example, branding, podcasting, and fitness, for example. So whenever I go and do any content, I'm going to speak around those pillars. And then doing a content plan. So instead of, a lot of business owners will sit in 3 hours of haphazardness and trying to just post whatever, and they're thinking, what do I post today? So I think to get really true traction, you need to at least post once a day. Some, I think Alex Mosey posts 2 or 3 times. Again, it depends on, I guess, where your profile's kind of at, because everything in business compounds. So if you're only posting once a quarter, nothing's going to happen. You may as well not bother. But you do need to, if you want to be seen as a thought leader, as I mentioned before, you do need to post at least once a day, I would say. If you just want to, sort of slowly, if you're happy, I guess what I'm saying is if you don't want to, you're quite happy with steady flow, maybe twice a week is fine. But if you do want to lead, if you think of big brands, they don't hold back. They're everywhere. They're across TikTok, YouTube, they use every platform. I'm not saying do that. Of course, think about where your ideal client sits. So if it's LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook, we often recommend to our clients like so say your ideal client's on LinkedIn, your strategy is for LinkedIn. But in saying that, it's always also good to have a presence on Facebook and Instagram, and those two plug in together. So you're literally just taking that same content and putting it on there.